Hi everybody, so we're having a little look in this instance at Act 2, Scene 1. We're particularly looking at the contrast between Iago and the women that he's talking to. So this is the conversation he has with Desdemona and the way he treats Emilia when they first arrive in Cyprus. So Desdemona says, alas, she has no speech, after Iago has just insulted his wife. He says, in faith, she's too much, she speaks too much. I find it still when I have list to sleep. When I want to go to sleep, she talks too much. Marry before your ladyship, I grant she puts her tongue a little in her heart and chides with thinking. Now, notice that he hasn't yet used his wife's name, okay? He's a very nasty piece of work, and he's particularly chauvinistic in this instance. It's an interesting excerpt, too, because it's the only time that Iago is really honest with anybody other than himself, us, and Rodrigo. This is where he's pretending to be jovial, pretending to be funny, making jokes with Desdemona, even though actually we know that he is being honest in how cruel he is. And Emilia says, you've little cause to say so. I'm not actually like that, and you can't actually prove that I am like that. No cause to say so. Iago. And this is where he uses a lot of idioms, a lot of sayings. Come on, come on. You are pictures out of doors, bells in your parlours, noisy in the parlours, wild cats in your kitchens. So imagine a cat in a small room, a wild cat, and the way it goes off. That's the kind of idea that he's trying to create of the women here, okay? So he's using these metaphors for the women that he's speaking to. Saints in your suffering, devils being offended, you devils who are offended all the time, players in your housewifery. Now a housewife or a hussif in this instance, as Shakespeare used it, was a whore or a prostitute. And so he's calling these women basically saying that they are housewives in their beds. When they go to bed with their husbands, they go to sleep, but elsewhere they are players, okay? They are prostitutes with other men. He's got a very not a nice outlook on women, and he's letting them know. Oh, fie upon thee, slanderer, Desdemona says. She's sticking up for them, but she kind of, all of these exclamation marks she makes, she kind of thinks she's in on the jest as well. Iago, nay, it's true, or else I am a Turk. You rise to play and go to bed to work. So you lie down and you go to work, as prostitutes would. You shall not write my praise. You shall not be nice to me. No, let me not. He is so blunt. He's so mean to her. Desdemona, what wouldst thou write of me if thou should praise me? Now, that's a really silly question, but we know it's a silly question, and we're thinking, oh God, don't ask him that, because he's just nasty. And he's actually going to give her an honest answer. So he says, O gentle lady, do not put me to it, for I am nothing if not critical. He's being very honest, but because they believe him to be Iago the good and Iago the honest, as they ironically call him, they don't realise that his joking manner here is actually hiding some truth. There's a mask that he's wearing here. Come on, I say. There's one gone to the harbour? Ay, madam. Okay, so she's actually looking elsewhere. She's looking out to the boats now. Her attention has been taken by the boats because she's missing Othello, and here she says it. I am not merry. All right, here, I am not merry, but I do beguile. I disguise the thing that I feel, that I am by seeming otherwise, so I seem happy. Here's the idea of that symbol of the mask that we consistently see throughout the play, the sort of the disguise that everybody's wearing, and even here Desdemona wears one. Come, how wouldst thou praise me? So make me happy, praise me. And here we have, I'm about it, but indeed my invention comes from my pate, as bird lime does from frieze. So if we come over here and we sort of pull apart what it means, a sticky substance used to trap birds is bird lime, a coarse woolen fabric. So his brain is like a coarse woolen fabric trying to, and thought or invention is like trying to squeeze bird lime, a sticky substance, from his head. Okay, so his thoughts are sticky at this point in time. And we see on the next page, okay, it plucks out brains and all, but my muse labours, and thus she is delivered. If she be fair and wise, fairness and wit, the one's for the use, the other useth. So basically he's saying, my brain is labouring, my muse labours, but thus, Through my hard labours she is delivered, my thought is delivered. If she be fair and wise, fairness and wit, the one's for the use, the other useth it. So if she's pretty and she's clever, she will use her cleverness, or her cleverness will allow her to use that prettiness to get what she wants. Does that make sense? She's clever enough to use her looks to get what she wants. All this real sexual connotation here with Iago. Well praised. How if she be black and witty? Now here's this sort of the metaphor of the black and white that consistently comes up throughout the play as well. If she be black, they're not necessarily, I mean, they could be talking about a black woman here, but they can also be talking about a woman who is nasty, because that's what black was sort of insinuating in those days. If she be black and thereto hath wit, she'll find a white that shall her blackness fit. Now there's a real dig at Desdemona, because if he's talking about a black person who is smart, they're going to find a white person that their blackness will fit. So those really, really racist remarks that these days wouldn't pass. In those days, remember that Shakespeare's playing on the prejudices of his audience, so they would have understood this quite well. Desdemona, or worse and worse, how if fair and foolish? What if she's fair and stupid? Emilia says, she never yet was foolish that was fair, for even her folly helped her to an heir. So even if she's foolish, men will like her, because the dumber they are, the better they are. Okay, so he's on a real rant here. And notice how he's starting to use his rhyming couplets again. Wit, fit, fair, air, and all the way down here, he's trying to use his own wit to outdo these women. Alright, these are old fond paradoxes to make fools laugh in the alehouse. So that what miserable praise hast thou for her that's foul and foolish, so nasty and silly? What praise have you got for them? There's none so foul and foolish thereunto, but does foul pranks which fair and wise ones do. So basically he's saying here, foul pranks which fair and wise ones do are still played by those who are foul and foolish. Oh, heavy ignorance. So Desdemona is actually trying to gain the upper hand again here, and you notice all her exclamation marks. She uses them consistently. Thou praisest the worst best, but what praise couldst thou bestow on a deserving woman indeed, one that in the authority of her merit did justly put on the vouch of very malice herself? So who would turn malice away because they were just so good? And he is saying, she that was ever fair and never proud. So this is the perfect woman. She who is fair but not proud, had tongue and will, yet was never loud, so was clever enough to speak her mind, yet never did. Never lacked gold, yet went never gay, so had her riches, yet never shows them off. Fled from her wish, and yet said, now I may, who had a wish and yet managed to keep it to herself, and managed to not live out that wish. She that being angered, her revenge being nigh, although she's angry, she won't gain revenge for it, which is very ironic coming from Iago, bade her wrong stay and her displeasure fly. So just forgot about any revenge that she needed. She let that displeasure fly. She that in wisdom never was so frail to change the cod's head for the salmon tail. So she was, if she's wise enough not to change the cod's head for the salmon tail, so she's going to keep the best part of the fish because she's clever enough to know that she doesn't need the bad bit of the fish. She that could think and never disclose her mind, see suitors following and not look behind. Okay, so she could think, but she never speaks what she thinks. Perfect woman for him, a silent woman. And then she says, and then Iago says, this perfect woman will suckle fools, will have baby, and chronicle small beer, so keep the household well. Alright, that's where a woman belongs in his mind. In the household, looking after babies, looking after men. Desdemona, O most lame and impotent conclusion, do not learn of him, Emilia, though he be thy husband. How say you, Cassio, is he not a most profane and liberal counsellor? So notice she uses words like profane and liberal. Okay, we've got this kind of, she's giving him back his insults. Cassio, he speaks home, madam. Home in this instance means that he speaks the truth for Iago. Cassio sees Iago here. He knows what Iago's like in this instance. You may relish him more in the soldier than in the scholar. That to me is the best insult. He's a soldier. He's not a scholar. And then we get this aside, which I'm not going to tell you about because I want you guys to answer it yourself. So your question is, what does the aside say? This is your summary. What is the aside saying? And what does it tell you about Iago? Okay.